Poison ivy. What is it? Where is it? What to do if exposed? We'll be talking about two types of poison ivy, and that's right, there's two of them. The first is the eastern poison ivy, which is pictured here. It's a vining type of plant and will often be seen trailing up on the trunks of trees or in crevices and rocks and such things. It has what are called aerial roots that allow it to grow like this and climb the things it is growing on or over. In the lower right, we see a um, image that looks like bark, and on top of that bark are some of those aerial roots. You'll see the other aerial roots in the other two photographs. They're smaller. The lower right, we'll see that it's kind of camouflaged. It looks kind of like the bark to me when I look at this photograph. And when I'm out in the forest in the woods, it looks like it's part of the tree also, but in fact, these are roots. And there'll be a large, dark cable-like structure in the center with these other light roots coming off it, and those are the ones that are used to fasten to the tree and also to absorb nutrients and take up moisture from the air because they're not fully rooted in the soil. So they get some supplemental moisture and nutrients through these filtering and running vines. Now, western poison ivy takes a different track. It has an upright growth habit with no aerial roots, and it's often seen in patches on the forest floor. They can be a beautiful green and look inviting and lush at times, but at all times, the plants have on them the irritating chemicals that can cause itching and severe pain. Now, if we were going to go and we're wearing the proper protective gear like gloves and things like that, long sleeves, we might tug on one of these plants that is growing in a bunch. And we would see then that the vine, that the stem that is connected to these leaves goes down to a vine that runs under the leaf litter or runs under the the mulch or whatnot, the broken sticks on the forest floor, or even under the dirt. And from there, these small plants spring up. So you'll see it's actually one big plant, and the ivy vine is growing along or through the soil. Now, poison ivy can also grow around the home and may be found along the base of foundations. It likes moist, cool locations and thrives in the shade. The leaves are distinctive and relatively to make out if you know how to recognize them, and of course, you are looking for them. For the most part, poison ivy have the shape we see in this picture. Some forms of the two types of poison ivy may contain a fuller, rounder leaf. In almost all the cases, the leaf will exhibit the telltale shape we see here on the left. There will be three leaves, and at least one of them, usually all three or the two side ones, will have 3 points with two of them looking like notches. So here we see the classic poison ivy picture on the right, and there's the classic poison ivy plant with the center leaf being rather triangular, and it's got 3 points and 2 notches there. And the side leaves both have each one notch on the lower part. Now here's some western poison ivy in a shaded, cool, and moist plot, sharing some space with lily of the valley and some marsh plants. The poison ivy can be recognized by the 3 leaves together on a single stem. In this case, each one of them displaying the telltale notch that indicates this is a poison ivy plant. And if we pulled on this plant, we would find a vine that trails down in the ground and attached to other plants. They may occur in large bunches, or they may sprout up from here and there along the way that the vine is growing. Depending on where the poison ivy is located, the coloration may vary. In the late fall, the leaves can take on a blazing red color or fade to pale yellow. These two western poison ivy growths appear in patches on a local forest floor, just as stated earlier, and these are only about 10 feet away from each other, but the coloring was quite pronouncedly different. And it's best your way to make around them rather than travel through. Of course, you have boots on and socks and long pants. You can make it through, but when you get home, you'd want to doff them off and make sure that you applied some anti-itching cream or something like Tecnu, Tecnu. I recommend that. I really like using it before going to an area where you might find poison ivy, especially immediately after having kind of contact with it. It's very good at washing the oils off. Don't rely on that only, however, but it is a very useful tool. Here we see eastern poison ivy. It can be a bit easier to spot due to its aerial roots, as I mentioned. As long as they're not heavily camouflaged and you know what you're looking for, they have a distinctive look. They may be trailing up a tree trunk as we see here, or along fence lines or across boulders and such things. In this case, the poison ivy has taken up a spot between the twin trunks of an elm tree, and as we will see in a moment, they can grow quite large. So we see this small bush here. Oh, there's not much. Maybe we'll get rid of it. Maybe we'll leave it. Some folks don't do that. The large bunch of foliage in the center of this picture is a bunch of eastern poison ivy. So we saw a little bush down at the bottom, and look at the size of that. The actual tree foliage is way up there on the top, and this plant is growing in the center of the tree by hanging off it by vines. The vines can become very large, and interestingly, I find that as the poison ivy plant grows larger, it produces larger and larger leaves. They can wrap around. You can wrap around your foot and things like that if they're wet. Now, in the case of western poison ivy, the lush growth and vining exhibition of the plant can make it appear quite attractive, and an unwitting homeowner might easily allow it to grow or even tend to it and care for it, unaware of where their itching and blistering sensations are coming from. Now here we see another ivy plant growing up the tree, and it's got its aerial roots going on there. Now, according to the Mayo Clinic, poison ivy treatments usually involve self-care methods at home. I mean, it's been around a long time. We've been here a long time, and a lot of folks take care of it at home. The rash typically goes away on its own in 2 to 3 weeks if it's not too severe. Now, if it is severe and the rash is widespread or causes many blisters as may occur, for example, if you got it in your hands, you're not aware of it, and you can touch other parts of your body, now there's the spreading possibility. If you take a warm bath or a warm shower, it can spread the oils, and again, you have spreading take place. Now, if that happens, or you got many blisters, or both, your doctor may prescribe an oral corticosteroid such as prednisone to reduce swelling. Of course, this is all up to your doctor and you. If a bacterial infection is developed at the rash site, your doctor might prescribe an oral antibiotic because this is very serious. Say if you got a puncture wound where you're out working or hiking, and at the same time you got infected, same time you got came in contact with poison ivy, then infection can set in. Or if the leaves themselves of that particular poison ivy plant had something on them, then you could become infected. So got to keep an eye on it. Be careful. Also, from the Mayo Clinic, we learned that a poison ivy rash, as we mentioned, will eventually go away on its own, but the itching in the meantime can be hard to deal with and make it difficult to sleep. And then, of course, if a person scratches, we've got back to spreading, and it could go on for longer than what you would normally expect it to go on. Now, and also the blisters may become infected. Here are some steps you can take to help control the itching. You can apply an over-the-counter cortisone cream or ointment like Cortisone 10 for the first few days. Apply calamine lotion or creams containing menthol. You can take oral antihistamines, and again, you want to talk about your doctor about this if you're allergic to any of these things. You don't want to do things that are going to make you sicker, okay? So these are just examples of things that you can do. So something like Benadryl may help you, and it'll help you sleep better. An over-the-counter antihistamine that won't make you so drowsy is Loratadine, which is in Aliviret and Claritin and others. Other things you can do is soak the affected area in a cool water bath. That's about a half a cup. That's 100 grams of baking soda or an oatmeal-based bath product like Aveeno in it. And then you can also place cool, wet compresses on the affected area for 15 to 30 minutes several times a day. So if you take care of it, you'll get rid of it sooner. Some people also like to use apple cider vinegar. Of course, if you got the open blister there, then it's going to be might be painful. So that's up to you. But some people do use that as a traditional remedy to dry out the skin and to get that oil off the skin. Now, when young, the leaves may be glossy and appear in a deep red or maroon color. Again, they can be very attractive looking, and sometimes they can appear to be telling you, whoa, don't come near that tree, because that plant, because there's something in there that may be harmful. So in closing, when heading out to the woods or doing yard work, be aware of your surroundings and see if you can spot the poison ivy if it's there. Why not take a walk around the yard today, or take a walk at the local park and check it out? Of course, wear your long pants and some socks and shoes and stuff like that. There are various techniques for removing these plants from around the yard, which can include chemicals or physical removal. You'd want to consult with a professional and learn as much as you can before proceeding with any of that. Of course, you wouldn't want to be applying chemicals in areas where you're growing food or you have delicate other plants, okay? So this is all a great opportunity for you to recognize the two types of poison ivy we're dealing with here in the United States. And in Michigan, I should mention, is an overlap point for the two types of poison ivy. So that's why we get both of them, because Michigan is special and unique. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great rest of your day.